Every year, the Rude Mechanicals put on a variety show in the fall, and this is sort of our opportunity to bring in some new talent to the club. What we do is we give a bunch of different directors each the opportunity to have a small cast of their own and direct a scene from one of the works of Shakespeare. This year, our theme is Shakespeare's 7 Deadly Sins. The first scene we have is directed by Samantha Lemaster, and it is a scene from Measure for Measure about lust. And this is a really philosophical scene, so we're not going to see anybody, committing a lustful act, but rather a brother and sister who are kind of chained up in prison talking about the ideas behind it.
Now, sister, what's the comfort?
It kind of represents lust because they're both being punished for it in separate ways. Claudio is being punished for his own lust. He has a very big chance that he will be killed the next day.
Think you I can resolution fetch from flowery tenderness? If I must die, I shall encounter darkness as a bride.
And then Isabella is being punished for Angelo's lust.
If I would yield to him my virginity, thou may live.
She has no other choice but to sleep with him if she wants to save her brother. She is literally his only hope.
The next scene up is directed by Malia Folk. It is a gluttony scene from Henry IV Part 1.
So to me, Henry IV Part 1 especially is all about rebellion.
Kick it!
How rebellion is based on the fact that he wants to be seen as an individual, not as the person he's going to be. He's smart, he knows what he's doing. He's our age. He's like this college student that he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life.
The fortune of us that are the moon's men doth ebb and flow like the sea, being governed as the sea is by the moon.
I don't think even he realizes that he is a kind person. I think Falstaff is one of the most interesting of Shakespeare's characters. He's educated, he is poetic, he thinks he's greater than he is. He's not quite ready to grow up. I try to focus on the hedonistic lifestyles of these individuals. Lots of food, lots of booze, lots of sex, lots of drugs.
Next up, Francesca Cromartie directing a scene of envy from Antony and Cleopatra.
It's the messenger scene where Cleopatra gets very angry when she finds out that Antony's been remarried.
He is married.
The gods confound thee! The contrast, the dynamics between this lower subservient messenger and this queen goddess-like figure.
I'll spurn thine eyes like balls before me, I'll unhair thy head.
And Cleopatra thinks she's a god, literally thinks she is a god. Although she has an inflated ego, although she is vain, she's also very intelligent, and the idea that somebody that she really cares about is with somebody else like that is not okay with her. I love that Shakespeare has made this character that is so in control of her sexuality and using it.
Next up, Timon of Athens, once again directed by Malia Folk. This scene is about greed.
The utter superficial nature of these characters is actually very disheartening.
1,000 pieces? 1,000 pieces. What are you?
I really wanted to elaborate these minor characters who aren't in any other scenes in Timon of Athens and create them into major characters. The First Lord, we have decided, is this actress socialite.
I was not so low with him as he made it seem in the trial of his several friends.
The Second Lord, however, is this politician who I think started out with really good intentions, but kind of got sucked into the game of politics and the darkest that can easily corrupt us. The Third Lord is this tinkering, eccentric scientist.
He sent to me, ma'am.
Here he comes!
The greed that we have as humanity isn't necessarily always for material possessions. And I really wanted to illustrate that, but of course there's also the material possessions.
We have the first of our Hamlet scenes, directed once again by Samantha Lemaster. This scene is focusing on sloth, and so we see Hamlet kind of at his worst in sort of the depressive, inactive state.
Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I!
I was looking at different sins to do, and I'm like, sloth, Hamlet, obvious.
And all for nothing! For Hecuba! What's Hecuba to him? Or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her?
Sloth is Hamlet, and Hamlet is unable to actually do anything to avenge his father at this point in the play.
Yet I, a dull and muddy-mettled rascal, peak like John o' Dreams and can say nothing.
he's kind of almost punishing himself by yelling at himself about how terrible he is.
For it cannot be but I am pigeon-livered and lack gall to make oppression bitter!
Like an emo 16-year-old is basically the Hamlet that I'm going to have.
Oh, vengeance!
You get to play with all of his little emotions in there, so I think there's just a whole range that you get to play with.
After that, we have Sarah Volker with a completely different gender-swapped Hamlet scene. This one is focusing on wrath as Hamlet confronts her father.
Hamlet is told to see her father in his bedroom.
Father, what's the matter?
Thou hast thy mother much offended.
Hamlet uses this time as an opportunity to take out all of this rage and frustration that's been building.
Come, sit you down. You shall not budge. You go not till I set you up a glass where you may see the innermost part of you.
I wanted something loud, and I wanted something aggressive and something cathartic, something driving.
And what judgment would step from this to this? Rebellious hell, where is thy blush? Ah!
It plays like a piece of music. There's crescendos and decrescendos and staccatos, and it's this beautiful piece of music.
Let virtue be as wax and melt in her own fire!
Hamlet is full of rage. Her life, she feels, is just like a series of betrayals from the moment her mother betrays her by dying to the moment her father betrays her by marrying her aunt, where by the time we get to this scene, it's the final betrayal. Her father is not even on her side.
Nay, but to live in the rank sweat of an enfeebled bed!
And I wanted to make the scene about domestic abuse, about sexism, about the misogyny, about the sort of the violence that comes from this traditional idea of masculinity. A male family member being attacked in a very masculine, traditionally masculine way by a female family member. And it's much more striking because of that. It seems weirder. There's a lot more cognitive dissonance.
And last but not least, we have Ryan Mays directing a scene from Henry IV Part 2. Another Falstaff scene, this time focusing on pride.
To me, Henry IV is, at the end of the day, about the relationship between Falstaff and Hal. Falstaff is a loser, basically, which is why Henry IV disapproves of Hal being friends with him so much.
Peace, good dog. Do not speak like a death's head. Do not bid me remember mine end.
Falstaff's most crucial flaw, his greatest sin, is his pride. Yeah, he drinks a lot, yeah, he steals, but what makes him such a ridiculous character is that he thinks he's an awesome.
You see how men of honor are sought after. The man of inaction may sleep, while the man of action is called upon.
So while he's silly, while he's kind of dumb, while he's kind of gross, not very respectful, he's a thief and a crook, he's so much more. He is important to these people. His friendship with Hal really does matter. Meanwhile, Hal has these close friends that he has this life with. He pals around with Falstaff, he drinks, he parties, he's always taking jabs at Falstaff, he's always one step ahead of him. But at the end of the day, he has a job to do, and he knows eventually he's going to have to leave all these people behind.
Why should you come see Variety Show?
Why should people come see a variety show?
Oh, this is gonna be fucking awesome.
I think the Ruse do such an excellent job of making Shakespeare relatable to the audience.
I think it gives people a chance to actually see Shakespeare but not be so lost in Shakespeare.
This is our best chance to showcase like the new talent, and which is kind of one of the things the Roots does best.
So dynamic. I think that's the main thing.
Having different directors means you have very different directing styles and you have very different tones to each scene.
You're going to see so many different characters.
When do you get to see Cleopatra and Falstaff in the same night with two Hamlets? That's pretty f***ing cool.
So come join the audience, have some fun there. Hope to see you there.